Good afternoon, everyone. The time has come.
Time has come.
Ms. Davis, if you would note the roll for us, please.
Ms. Kane?
Here.
Mr. Dobbins?
Here.
Mr. Ingram? Here. Ms. Kotzman?
Here.
Mr. Larkin? Here. Mr. Leapy? Mr. Merricks? Dr. Miller? Ms. Williamson Branch?
Thank you. All right, from the minutes from January the 24th, are there any edits, deletions, or anything we need to add? If not, can we get a motion to move on?
I move they be accepted as presented.
Thank you. Did I hear a second? Okay, Ms. Davis?
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Dobbins?
Yes.
Ms. Kotzman? Mr. Larkin?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson Branch?
Thank you. Ms. Hawley? No? Thank you.
Ms. Holly's away today, but I'm happy to share the financial results through December with you today. In your agenda packet on page 12, you'll see that's where our fund statements start. So we'll begin with wastewater as usual. So you'll notice that operating revenue of $4.5 million is running slightly ahead of budget. At December, of course, we're 50% of the way through the fiscal year. The revenues in the wastewater fund are at 51% of budget. It's nearly the same as last year, an increase of $63,000, and that's primarily related to industrial sales. You'll see the operating expenses are $3.6 million. That is trailing budget at only 46.7% of budget. It still is an increase from the prior year, mainly because of repair and replacement of pumps at the North Side treatment plant, and also the timing of contractor invoices. We actually have 6 months worth of invoices from them in the current year. Last year, because of timing, we only had 5 months in last December, so that's one reason for that. So with revenues ahead of budget and expenditures under budget, net income is exceeding budgeted expectations at $591,000 for the first 6 months. Page 13 is water. You'll see the water operating revenue is $4.4 million. That is behind budget at 48%. It is a slight decrease from the prior year, about $23,000, and that's spread across all customer classes. Operating expenses are also behind budget at $3.15 million at 46.8% of budget. This is also a decrease from last year of about $77,000, primarily because in distribution expenses last year we had some unexpected repairs that of course did not repeat themselves this year. So combining all that together, you'll see net income is at $795,000. That's 61% of budget and an increase of nearly $93,000 from the prior year. Page 14 is the gas fund. Operating revenues for gas were $10.3 million at the end of December. That's slightly ahead of budget at 52.6% of budget. It's also an increase of $2.85 million from last year at this time. Fiscal 21, as you can remember, there were some commercial and industrial closures related to the pandemic. Operations were suspended. So this year, that's not the case. Decatherm sales are up about $205,000 from last year, and nearly all, $178,000 of that increase is in industrial customers. The operating expenses in the gas fund are at $2.2 million under budget at 44% of budget. That's a decrease of $214,000 from last year, and this is mainly in the administrative expense category, things like depreciation, wages, and also the timing of cost allocations from other departments. Net income before transfers is income of $880,000. That's much better than last year, a loss of $489,000. However, net income after transfers is still showing a loss of $714,000. Compared to the prior loss of $2 million, that is better. And of course, the heating season, December, January, February, and beginning of March is when the gas fund typically makes its profits and pulls itself out of a negative place. Moving also the PGA, the cost adjustment for gas was an under recovery of $449,000 at the end of December. And of course, as sales volume increases through the heating season, it gives us more of an opportunity to recover those costs. The electric fund on page 15 shows operating revenue of $59.8 million. That's nearly 49% of budget, so very close to the budgeted amount. It is an increase of $218,000 over last year. Purchase power is also pretty consistent. It's at 49.85% of budget. It is slightly ahead of sales, just a little bit, mostly because of natural gas price increases at Fremont. Kilowatt hour sales were up 3%, and that equates to about 13.6 million kilowatt hours from last year, and that is spread out across all customer classes, residential, commercial, and industrial. Operating expenses are at $10.5 million. That is behind budget at 46% at this time. It is an increase of about $729,000. Most of that, $400,000, or a little less than, or a little more than half, is $400,000 timing of cost allocations. The remainder is an increase in maintenance service contracts and also tree trimming services when compared to last year. Net loss after transfers is $1.6 million. That's 60.8% of budget. It is improved from last year's net loss after transfers of $2.4 at this time. The power cost recovery for electric is an over-recovery of just over $1 million at the end of December. Page 16, the Telecommunications Fund. You'll see operating revenues of $364,000, slightly ahead of budget at 55% of budget, and it is an increase of $22,000 over last year. The operating expenses are at $410,000. That's behind budget at 43%. It did decrease about $29,000. Again, that was related to the timing of cost allocations. The net loss of $120,000 at this point in time is better than budgeted at 28% of budget, and it is an improvement over last year's net loss of $165,000. That's all I have for this month. If there are questions, I'm glad to take those.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the fiscal year 2023 utility budget.
We haven't made any changes to the proposed budget since our meeting last month, so if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them at this time.
I do have one that relates to just the numbers. I believe it was more in 23 than 22, but some large increases in revenues. I remember, I think in gas and perhaps other areas, but particularly in gas. And I was just curious whether that was projecting some of the new economic development that was coming, or what the explanation was. I guess that might be it, but.
In 23, we were projecting a higher commodity price. I think that's what you're seeing from what we were experiencing early part of 22, fiscal year 22. So the cost of the gas has increased, as we've discussed. So we have to budget purchase services at a higher amount. So
Okay.
I think that's what you're looking at.
Well, and I was wondering what the trade-off was between that kind of number and the volume of gas being sold.
So we do anticipate new industry coming online, but it'll probably be sometime in fiscal year 24 that will be significant to gas. We do have some industry coming on, but in 23, but the significant larger consumers of gas will be fiscal year 24.
In terms of rate increases, those were all locked last year when we reset them, right? Or are we changing those?
No rate increases for this budget year, so we'll start the rate study process this summer with a draft ready probably for the November or December meeting this fall.
And that would be for which fiscal year?
It would start fiscal year 2024.
Okay, so what we see for 22 and 23 is based on the last rate increases, and those are set in place.
Correct.
Good. Thank you.
Questions?
There's a motion on the floor. If anyone would like to read that for us. Page 21.
I move that the Danville Utility Commission approve the Utility Department's proposed fiscal year 2023 budget for submission to City Council with the Commission's recommendation for its adoption by the Council. I further move that staff make the budget expenditure adjustments necessary to bring the budgets back into balance and brief the Commission on actions taken at the April 25th meeting should ongoing evaluations reveal revenue shortfalls.
Wiseman, can I get a second? Okay. Ms. Davis, roll please.
Ms. Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Dobbins?
Yes?
Ms. Kotzman?
Yes.
Mr. Larkin?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson Branch?
Great, thank you. All right, this is a quick meeting today. We're down to the new Danville Internet Service Provider. Mr. Gray?
Many of you know that we operate a open access fiber optic network, and what that means is that the city maintains the fiber optic highway. We have a lit system that is partitioned by multiple service providers, and we encourage various service providers to use our network to sell their services, and we ask for revenue shares as part of our revenue to operate the network. So far, we've been very fortunate to have 2 internet providers, and now we have a third. I'd like to introduce Zytel, who is from Bedford, Virginia, and has done very well in the Bedford community. But I'd like to introduce Rodney Gray, who is the Chief Operating Officer with Zytel, to introduce himself and the company and give a little background information on Zytel. So, Rodney.
Hi, members of the Commission. Thank you for having me here this afternoon. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Rodney Gray. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Zytel. Been there a number of years. The company was founded in 2017 as a need that we saw arise for internet service around the Smith Mountain Lake region of Bedford County, Virginia. Since then, we've been awarded 3 CARES Act grants through Bedford County with a total number of 2,400 passings with fiber optic to the home on a GPON distributed network. Of those 2,400 passings, we've secured about 600 active customers on our network. We now have finished the completion of a build in the Boonesboro area of Bedford County, which is right outside of Lynchburg. And we have about another 1,200 passings there. We've actively turned up about 64 customers in the past 2 weeks, with another 250 that have pre-signed up. Past September, we were awarded the VOTI grant, the Virginia Technology Initiative, for Bedford County for another 425 miles worth of fiber throughout Bedford County. That'll bring our total passings to around 21,000 when we're done. This past December, we have a side business that is incorporated with us that Brandon and I started 15 years ago in IT consulting. And one of our customers was AMA Recycling here in Danville, and they had some very challenging issues with Comcast and their internet connection here, and to us to see if there was anybody else that they could get internet service from. We made some inquiries and found out that the River Street Networks was on the municipality-owned fiber optic network here, and Brandon and I were having a conversation in the office and just said, well, why can't we get on that network? So I happened to reach out to a common person that I know from the IT industry with the city of Danville, and she pointed me in the direction of Mr. Spencer. And since then, we've got the contract signed, and we have our first customer turned up and active on your network with AMA Recycling as a gigabit internet customer on your fiber network. We're working, hopefully, to market and get a better footprint with all of the passings that you have on your municipality network, and actively serve the community with what we think is an extremely solid product. Fast, reliable internet at a locally owned company. We're headquartered in Bedford County, Virginia, right there in downtown Manita. All of our phone system calls, we don't outsource it to any place outside the country or any. We have employees that work in our offices in Bedford County that answer the phones. When you call us, you're going to talk to somebody there. Heck, I may be the person to answer the phones 20% of the times when I'm there. Very happy to be here and very happy to be part of this network, and I'd love to entertain any questions if you guys have them of us.
How do you compare to Comcast on residential local service?
We're faster. We are getting ready to launch an asynchronous connection, as in the asynchronous connection means that the upload speed is equivalent to the download speed. For example, if you have a 500 meg connection from us, that's 500 down and 500 up. Whereas with Comcast, on the copper plant bill that they have, which is aging and has reached its maximum capacity. I think Comcast advertises a 1.2 gig download speed as their maximum download, but they can't offer anything faster than a 35 meg upload speed, which when it comes to the way of the world working with people telecommuting, working from home, providing schools from home, Zoom meetings from home, that upload speed has become very important. We also don't lock our customers into any type of long-term agreement, no 12-month, 24-month agreement. that's going to skyrocket the price after they hit that end of the agreement. So one of the things that I hated, I live in Roanoke, and I'm not even a customer of our own service. I live in Roanoke and have Cox Communications. I hate the fact that I got to call Cox back every 2 years because my bill doubles. And I've got to threaten to leave and go somewhere else, even though I have no opportunity to go anywhere else. I hate that concept. So when we started this, we're like, we're not going to do that to our customers. You become a customer, we tell you what the price is. The only time the price is going to go up is if we raise the price across the board based on inflation, the economy, different costs coming to us. And then it may be a small nominal 5–10% increase across the board, but for our entire customer base. We're not going to lure you in with a low rate at the very beginning and then 24 months make that rate go up and you have to call and negotiate with us and try to get a better rate. It's the same rate for everybody. You can be our customer for 2 months after we install. And if you don't like our service and you don't like our customer service, you can call and cancel.
So how does your rate compare to Comcast on residential?
Very competitive, if not a little cheaper. We have a 100 meg asynchronous connection that right now is $49.99 per month is our base service. And our maximum speed, our gigabit service, which is 1,000 down, it's 200 up, but it will be 1,000 down and 1,000 up. And that's going to run at $89.99 a month.
Are those the only two options you have?
No, we have a deluxe package, is what we call it, and it's a 300 meg over 60. It will be 300 over 300, and it's $64.99. After taxes, fees, and the equipment rentals from us, our standpoint is it's going to be, it runs about 60 and some change, 80 and some change, and 106 and some change after taxes, fees, and equipment rentals.
Comcast recently raised my internet, which is the only thing I have with them, and I was curious about this. Do you offer television?
Don't offer television service yet. We are a CLEC, so we can offer voice services. So we can offer voice services. We see a very small take rate on voice services, only about 10%. Most people, once they get good internet and they can cut Wi-Fi calling on their cell phones, they really see no need to have a home phone. We're in negotiations with a company called Moby TV, which is an upstream provider and helps us negotiate all of the rates and the contracts with the CBS Viacoms and NBC Universals to get all the channels. We're about 6 to 9 months out from having a TV service. We will offer a set-top box for the traditional cut the TV on, see the guide menu, and scroll through it just like you do with the over-the-wire cable companies. But right now, our service is going to focus on called the Zytel TV app, which will be an app that you can put on a Fire Stick or a smart TV or something like that, and then you can access that television service from there. So we're working with them now. We had to hire some consultants to come in and help with that. It's a lot of back office negotiations with the major TV providers or the owners of those companies to get that contract in place.
If I recall, the city and/or Gamewood wired, I guess, fiber optic wired parts of the city. Is that accurate? The city did. Okay. If your home is not passed currently by that fiber optic, can that be put in?
So we have if you're interested page on our Danville Utilities site. So if customers are interested, if we're not already past your location, then you can go fill that form out or call us, on our main number, 799-5270, and we'll be glad to, tell you if you already are past or, take your information and put it together. But the more people in your geographic location, we can see where there's a lot of interest and maybe add as a target location to expand to.
Good. Thank you.
One of the things that sets us apart from our competitors is that we own our own outside plant construction company. Outside plant construction is the concept of actually putting the fiber optic cable in the ground, hanging on the poles, running it from the poles or the underground to your home. Most of our competitors subcontract that out to other companies to do that portion of it. We actually own a company that does it ourselves, and we've been talking with Mr. Spencer and Mr. Gray about contracting our services to the city of Danville to facilitate that as well, to expand the network and to even do what they call the drops, the running of the cable from the point on the road at the tie-in position to the homes or the small businesses.
Thank you. Good.
Yes, sir. You're not locked into a contract with us, so at any time you can leave and come to one of the other providers that are on your network.
I have a question. You had addressed comparability with Comcast. What about comparability with River Street Networks?
I think from the pricing that we have seen, I think we are less expensive than River Street. Requires to have contracts in place, 24-month or 36-month contracts where we don't require that. Our speed packages are exactly comparable with what River Street is offering. I believe we have a better product because I believe we're a better company than River Street. I believe our customer service is better. I believe our installation technicians are better because I had a hand in building the company and training those personnel on what I did not like about the industry and what I've heard from other people that I know about what they don't like about the industry. So about our company is we were designed and we came from an IT background. We were IT personnel and IT consultants and worked in different aspects of IT, whereas our competitors are former telephone system providers. They worked in the telecom business for years and years and developed and rolled their company into one that's an ISP, and I think that helps us bring something a little different to the market.
I think your base quote on the internet into the house would be the best in the market if my memory serves me correctly.
We also just have been approved, I didn't think to tell you about this, we have just been approved for the ACP program, the Affordable Connectivity Program through the federal government. I think that's the USDA.
It's E-rate or USAC.
USAC. It's an E-rate, but the Affordable Connectivity Program is one in which we are going to devise a connectivity that's going to meet the prices for low-income families. Low-income families can then come to us, fill out the paperwork. If they meet the criteria of the United States federal government, then we give them free internet service. The end user doesn't have to deal with anything they just get free service from us. We then turn and bill the federal government and get reimbursed for the cost of that. And I think that package is going to be a 50 meg package, asynchronous, 50 meg over 50 meg for $35.99. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't been involved in that, but I do know that the approvals are all in place. We have been approved with the ACP. That's a part of the VADI process to be qualified for the Virginia Technology Initiative grants with the state of Virginia. We had to be approved for that, and so that's something we can offer to the citizens of Danville as well.
You mentioned if the applicant qualifies, it costs us $0. But then you mentioned $39.95.
That's what we would get reimbursed. We have to
Okay.
keep it under a certain amount, and if I remember the paperwork right, it's 200% of the poverty level. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's 200% of the U.S. poverty level. If they come in under that and meet certain criteria, then they qualify for the ACP program and can get free internet service.
And I'm sorry, once again, what's your 50 meg offering to a other customer?
50 meg offering? We won't offer that to any customers except those that qualify for ACP. The 50 meg qualifying, we set a dollar rate on it that meets the minimum requirements of what the federal government will reimburse us for. And then that's a minimum speed that they're going to have. I think it's going to be a 50 over 50 asynchronous connection.
I'm sorry, again, what was the speed of the lowest level? that
Right
you
now, the
offer
lowest
in public?
package we offer to consumers is a 100 meg connection. As of probably about the time we kick off the VADI project, which is around the late spring, early summer, that connection will go from 100, right now it's 100 over 20, 100 down, 20 up. It'll be 100 down, 100 up. We're going to full asynchronous connections.
I think that's a better rate than what I'm paying Comcast for a lower meg basis.
That's what we're hoping. We're hoping we can put out a product that's better than our competitors, especially the national ones, because I think being a locally owned company, we're going to have a better customer service rapport with our customers. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Right, we're down to communications, city manager,
I have nothing. Thank you very much.
utility staff. Commission members.
Question, Mr. Gray. Well, we know what's going on in Europe. How's that going to affect us? Natural gas in particular?
We are heavily watching energy prices, and good thing is we're coming out of the heating season, so there's not as much demand as far as heating for natural gas. There's certainly industries watching natural gas prices, but they did come down some today, and they're up and down every day. But we have some supply locked in going forward, so we'll make changes and hedges as needed to protect from volatility. But price increases could come due to a number of effects with political pressures in Europe, yeah. We'll keep an eye on it and report back.
Where are we getting our natural gas from?
It comes from the Gulf region, but a lot of natural gas is being liquefied and sent to Europe for a higher premium than what is being sold in the United States. So that is driving prices up a lot. So, yeah.
I think it's about five times the multiple by the time it gets to the consumer in Europe as compared to what we pay, if that's accurate.
That's correct.
There's a big push to liquefy more of it here domestically to export, particularly to Europe.
There's only so many trains, what they call LNG ports or trains, that are permitted and open and built, but there are more coming online as we go along into the future. So over the past 2 or 3 years, the LNG business has really ramped up significantly in the Texas area.
Pressure on them to send more to Europe.
Yes.
Which will raise our price ultimately.
Raise our prices.
Unless we build more pipelines and do more domestic fracking and sourcing out, because there's plenty of it underground. We're just being prevented from getting it.
We'll have to make smart purchases and hedges going into the future to protect against price spikes, particularly in the wintertime, when a lot of natural gas is used for generation, electric generation.
Thing you're watching it.
Second question is you've sent something to council recently about prices going up, and you mentioned that Appalachian Power had increased. What does that equilibrate to the average consumer's bill? What % of the average consumer's bill is transmission charge?
AEP's transmission rate went up 15% January 1, on top of the 18% thereabouts the previous year, on top of the double-digit increase the year before that. So it's constantly going up every year. It's several dollars a megawatt hour to our overall power rate. It's the number one driver of cost increases is transmission rates. If you look at our actual generation costs, our generators of power are actually going down, the actual power plants. The costs are going down, but they're being offset, or any savings is being offset by the increases in transmission costs. So we're continuing reaching out to our legislators and FERC commissioners to help us, cap these rate increases, because they're double-digit rate increases every year to transport energy across the grid. And it's very profitable for transmission operators to incur these transmission rate increases every year for infrastructure expansions and other things.
No government, there's no limit on how much they can increase it?
No, they're regulated by FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and they're reviewed, but they're
Could stop it, could cap it, but they haven't.
it's an ongoing problem and ongoing interest of ours to continue to make more people aware of the concern of transmission cost increases.
Any idea what the average consumer pays in dollars and cents?
I don't want to blurt out something without putting more pen to paper, but that's why we're doing solar projects here. That's why we're doing a battery project to help mitigate our exposure.
Do something like that, it's across the board, they're not gonna, our transmission charges, would they go up more than somebody else's? Or it's a fixed percent, they go up for everybody?
Right. Except for their own customers, because their customers they're the transmission, generation, and distribution company. So it's the wholesale customers like ourselves that are directly affected, and any co-ops that receive power from a transmission operator.
Good thing too about the solar projects and the battery projects is that the cost is cheaper too. So not only are we getting, we don't have transmission charges, but we also, it's attractive compared to market on cost as well, especially during peaking period when that's where the market prices are really hitting us hard. I hope I got that right.
Yeah, if you look at our cost of energy at Pinnacles and Schoolfield and our solar projects, and you subtract out the net cost of any kind of transmission avoidance, we're actually $0 or even in the negative, making money based off of the avoidance of having to pay transmission cost. Those are such low-cost resources right now because they're behind our meter, they're producing energy during high demand periods in the summer months, and so they're actually they're very, very beneficial to our customers. Battery project will be too, and battery project actually started construction today. I'm going to go ahead and give my report, Ms. Kane.
Okay. Well, we have one more
Okay.
comment or question. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, ma'am. About 3 Saturdays ago, I guess it was around 3 o'clock in the morning, we lost power, and I woke my wife up and I said, "You paid that power bill, didn't you?" And she said, "Of course I did." And I called the emergency number and got a very nice person on the other end of the line, and I live out in the county, and within an hour, I had a lineman that responded and had us back on the grid, and there was some problem with the transformer on up the road, but you know, that's the kind of service that I'm used to. Of course, I'm a county native, but I've had your utilities, particularly on the electric side, for about 40-some years, and through the years, we've lost power a few times, but each and every time, that is the kind of service that I've gotten, and I'm so grateful, you know, for your department, particularly on the electric side and the linemen, and y'all do a good job, and I just want to thank you for that.
Appreciate the compliment.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Gray, you can go ahead with your report.
The only comment I was going to make was that we're talking about transmission avoidance and cost increases. Our battery project that we've been talking a lot about here recently, they actually started construction this morning, so the construction looks to proceed through May, and the only hiccup is trying to get the batteries and the system from China to here. So the manufacturer, they're being manufactured in China, so they have to be shipped from China to here, and they're supposed to ship out in a couple weeks. And once they're on the boat coming to the United States, we'll be able to set them up very quickly and be ready for the summer weather and be able to use them this summer during the hot days.
Awesome. Okay. Public comments. Well, all right. Do you have anything else for us? All right. Well, we're down to adjournment. Can we get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Great. All right. We'll see you on March the 28th at 4:00 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.